Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Two Saints Show today with myself, Moxie, and my co-host, Mark Coach. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Yeah, man. Well, I was doing all right. It was a good start to the weekend, and then obviously in recent days it's gone a bit. Well, in the last 24 hours it's gone a bit Pete Tong, as to say. You know what I mean? But yeah, apart from that, everything's all right. I hope all our listeners out there are keeping well and, staying safe sort of thing and looking after each other, more importantly.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we'd just like to issue an apology to everybody for the fact there was no Leeds United versus Saints preview on the show last week or on the Two Saints podcast. And obviously, the ways to access the Two Saints radio show are these. You can join us in the studio, Fiesta 95 FM in Southampton, 1 till 3 p.m. every Thursday. You can also catch us via onlineradiobox.com. And you can also contact the show via our email address, which is the Two Saints podcast show at outlook.com. That's for the podcast or the radio show, for any input you want to give us and any feedback you want to give us, positive or negative. So that's any questions and obviously any features you might like to see on future shows. So coming up in the first half review for you today, we have the Two Saints review of Saints 1, Chelsea 1 and Leeds United 3, Saints 0. So we'll be back over for a few short words.
It's the Two Marks, C&H, on the Two Saints Show, Fiesta 95 FM. Fiesta 95 FM, the Two Saints Show.
So welcome back, everybody. And before we get into everything, just obviously, Mark wants to say a few words before we do our review of Saints 1, Chelsea 1.
Yeah, people, look, I'm sorry, it was my mistake that we didn't do a preview of the Leeds game, but obviously you're getting a review of the Leeds game on the show tonight. Yeah, it was an oversight. The reason why I'm apologising is I compile the show every week. It was basically my oversight that we didn't do a preview of the Leeds game. I do apologise to the listeners.
Yeah, I'm sure they will forgive you, Mark. Anyway, moving on. The Two Saints review of Saints 1, Chelsea 1. So Saints had an entire week to prepare for this, obviously, which is great. Minamino strikes as Saints and a point. Hasenhüttl, an important point. Gineppo, we're fighting to improve. Yep. Ralph obviously had a week to work on them, Mark. He'd not worked with them for that sort of time scale. He'd not had a lot of time to get them on the training ground, but he had a solid week and seemed to bear a bit of fruit. Minamino, second goal in 3 starts for Saints. And as a team, to a man, they seem to be up for it. Gineppo, I thought, was man of the match. Outstanding.
Well, we reaped the rewards. I mean, look, the bottom line was it was Chelsea at home. And given that Tuchel's gone in there and he's had the effect that he's had, I think, 4 or 5 wins, 1 draw before they came to our place. And on the run that we were on, Mark, it was never going to be, Ralph was never going to take the approach of, let's take the game to them and see what they've got. It was definitely a case of, keep it tight, defensively, be prepared as a unit. And basically that's what we did. It was a very disciplined performance. And when the opportunity arose to sort of, score a goal, we took it with some aplomb.
Absolutely.
It's just a shame that, we can see the penalty in the worst possible set of circumstances because Chelsea the whole game only actually got in behind the Saints defence twice.
Yep.
And in this instance we had a striker who obviously was trying to do a job, but he made a striker's tackle in the 18-yard box, and the penalty was the only possible.
Yeah, and as if giving the penalty away wasn't bad enough, to rub a bit of salt in the wound, it was the Pompey boy himself, Mason Mount, who steps up to take it, just to rub salt in the wound. A little bit of payback for the Pompey fans for their 4-0 in their own backyard. But you wouldn't credit that, would you? Just to add a bit of salt into the wound.
I still haven't forgiven him for his antics when the crowd was in the stadium and he scored. But when I think the beat is 3-1 or 3-0 or whatever it was. And he celebrated like, look, at the end of the day, you can't blame him, I suppose. I mean, Portsmouth supporter and all that. But
well, we all remember how well we celebrated in '84 when Steve Moran got the 89th minute winner at Fratton Park. So we'll give him that one.
but anyway, going back to the game, man. I mean, the thing is for me, it was hard for me to separate man of the match. You know, it was between Moose and Gineppo, obviously, and Salisu.
Yeah.
You know, I favour Salisu a little bit because his interceptions and his tackling above everything else, it belied the years that he was. You know, much as everybody earlier in the season was going on about how much, you know, Vestergaard has improved. And personally, I think he's going backwards. You know what I mean? Because I'm beginning to think that he's still got the turning circle of the Queen Mary. But apart from that, no, I thought Salisu's performance belied his years, and given, you know, that it's basically only his second appearance, you know, I was really impressed with him in that sense. And then Gineppo, you know, at the end of the day, he's doing something that's alien to him. You know, like you like to say to me, he's a winger. And I say, it doesn't stop them from being able to do both sides of the job in the modern era.
But he's definitely learning. He's definitely learning to do that side of it. And
the thing is the way he was putting himself about and getting into the tackles, there was some missed time ones. I'm not saying that there wasn't, but there was some really good tackles where I was sat there thinking to myself, hang on, he's a winger. You know, I'm using your own ethos against you here. I'm sitting there thinking he's a winger, and yet
in fairness,
some of the tackles he put in were tremendous.
Well, and in fairness, Mark, it shows how good a game he had, because Chelsea were kicking him all over the pitch all afternoon.
Yeah. No, and then the thing is I think he was up to the challenge of it. It's obvious that Ralph had spoke to him. You know, I think that's fairly obvious that Ralph had spoke to him and said to him, like, you know, this is how I want you to play it, and he went out and carried the plan through to his own personal plan through to the letter. You know, and Millimeter's finish. Excellent finish, and it's just a shame that we didn't sort of come away with the 3 points, because I think it would have been richly deserved, given, all right, Chelsea had a lot of the ball, but, you know, the thing is you can have a lot of the ball and do nothing with it.
True.
Do you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
I was, on Monday night there, I watched Brighton against Crystal Palace. Now, Brighton should have won the game. They had 90% of the possession for me,
yep.
Right? And yet they still contrived to lose it 2-1.
Yep.
You know, I'm just using that as an example. I'm going off base. But, you know, I just thought we were compact. We made it difficult for Chelsea. You know, there wasn't a lot of room there. You know, when people were getting in behind, and like I said, it only happened twice in the whole game that I seen. You know, the thing is when you're basically limiting their centre half to having pot shots from outside the 18-yard, you know, well outside the 18-yard box, you know that you're putting in a disciplined defensive performance, and that's what we did.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, and slightly different setup as well. Obviously, with Salisu inside, Ralph had set things up slightly differently. Sort of looked like we played a 3 at the back and a 4 at the back and a 5 at the back. So it kind of changed quite a few times. And Chelsea didn't seem to be able to cope with that, to be fair. So Ralph got the tactics right. Yeah,
it did. It looked to me, you're quite right to point that out, Mark. I mean, there's this thing where people were saying, oh, it was a flat back 4 he was playing. But at times, it looked to me like it was a defence, you know, a central defensive 3, sometimes going to a 4, sometimes, like you say, going to a 5, you know, and I mean that we're pretty fluid from that point of view, like, you know what I mean, in the interchangeables, but Yeah, I mean, I was more than impressed with the way we went about it. I know you were slightly disappointed in that we didn't attack slightly more, but then I just think at the end of the day, it was maybe...
It was more a case of...
do that, we might have ended up surrendering the initiative to Chelsea.
It wasn't, for me, a case of throw caution to the wind and go for it. It was more a case of, it's a shame we couldn't carve out another opportunity to actually score, apart from the one that Vestergaard hit the bar with, which is very unlucky. Indeed, he went in. It's a shame we couldn't carve out another clear-cut chance to get the win, because Chelsea were, by their standards recently, they were quite average. But that's because we made them average. So it's just a shame we couldn't capitalise on it.
Like I said, when you say, we made them average because we put in a defensive, as I say, disciplined performance.
Yep, absolutely.
It was a performance where everyone knew their job, because Saturday to me was all about stopping the rot. Yeah, we did that. And the thing is you sit there and you think it's a building block. And I know we're coming on to the Leeds game in a minute.
Shortly.
But I was going into the Leeds game with an air of optimism.
Yeah, me too.
If we hadn't got anything out of the Chelsea game, I would have been going into the Leeds game thinking, do I really hold that much hope out for us? No.
The thing is, for me, I looked at it and I thought, we're going into the Leeds game off the back of getting a good point against Chelsea, stop the rot. Ralph's come up with a plan B, which a lot of people say he hasn't got. So stick with what you got, Ralph. Don't twist, don't stick. Stick to what you got. Don't twist, don't gamble, don't whatever. Just stick with what you got. Take that into the Leeds game. Happy days. 3 points are there for the taking. And we're talking, obviously, of the Two Saints review of Leeds 3, Saints 0. We will get to that shortly, but we are actually going to take a break now. And when we come back, it'll be the Two Saints review of Leeds United 3, Saints 0.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints Show. The Two Saints Show here on Fiesta FM. Tune in every Thursday for informative football chat and great tunes.
Right, welcome back, everybody. So, Two Saints review of Leeds United 3, Saints 0. Saints fall to 3 second-half goals. Hassan, who all ruse deficiencies at both ends. And Adams, it's a tough one to take. Yeah, I feel for you, Shay, actually, because it's an even tougher one to take when you sat on the bench. Ralph unfortunately, Mark, didn't stick to the tried and tested that served him so well at Chelsea. Made changes, left 3 of the key players from that game on the bench. And, it didn't go to plan, did it? It was definitely an awful lot of after the Lord Mayor show going on. And I think the only player that came out of it with a lot of credit, really, was probably Ulrich Romeu. And even he struggled.
Well, all I would say is after a ray of sunshine came an absolute downpour.
Yeah.
We've spoke about this off the record, and for me, Ralph tried to play an expansive game off the back of Leeds in some poor run of form.
Yep.
Right now, for me, I'm not saying that Nathan Redmond may or may not have been my starting lineup, but one thing, Mark, is I don't care how bad somebody's form is in front of goal, right? You can always rectify it by them sticking up the ball in the back of the net, right?
Yep.
And for me, I don't care who Saints are playing, right? Adams and Ings starts every game. Right,
100%.
That combination, not Redmond and Ings or Redmond and Adams as it was on last night, right? It's Adams and Ings because they are your best chance, your best combination of getting goals, of scoring goals, of putting the ball in the back of the net, and that's what it's all about, right? Now, you can have the discussions about who you play on that left-hand side, that problematic left-hand side, which we seem to have a problem with.
Yep.
The other thing for me is that much as we champion Stuart Armstrong on the pod, he's excellent when he's having a good game, mate, but I mean, there was a game where I would have been looking for him to step up because I know what he can do, right? Yep. And he plays, we've talked about it before, he plays in that gap of uncertainty, those lines of uncertainty, right? And he hardly had a kick the whole night. And then we'll look at, I mean, I think for me, the capitulation sort of, it got worse as the game went on. I mean, it was 3-0, Mark, but the last 15 minutes there, you could have drove a truck through the centre of the midfield.
Oh, seriously, right? If you were Man City watching that, bear in mind we've got Man City coming up. If you were Man City watching that, you're going, Premier League record, here we come. Oh
no, but the thing, the problem was we're 3-0 down, and even as I say, in the last 15 minutes, Leeds had 3 or 4 really good opportunities to score, didn't take them, and you looked at the scene on the pitch when those opportunities were arising. You're sat there and you're thinking, where's our central midfielders? Where's our centre backs? Because it just looked like the partner of the Red Sea.
Well, I mean, you look at one of the attacks that Leeds had, and this resulted in the tackle of the game from Oriol Romeu, who came from absolutely nowhere to get there. But the incident I'm referring to, the ball breaks from a Saints free kick, goes to a Leeds player, okay? That Leeds player shins it, it's basically a miss kick, to his teammate, who then runs clean through on goal until Oriol Romeu comes out of nowhere and makes the tackle of the game. Absolutely superb tackle.
Yeah, no.
But the worrying thing is, Mark, that's the one highlight. That's the Saints highlight from that game. One tackle from Oriol Romeu was the highlight of that entire game. That's poor from all of them.
The other thing is before, I suppose we better cover it because people will ask the question, right? But Nathan Teller, never a penalty.
No.
It wasn't even a foul. In fact, he should have been booked.
Yeah. Can't argue with that.
And then the other thing would be just to say that, James Ward-Prowse takes the free kick. The referee hadn't blown his whistle, and he did blow it after, James Ward-Prowse had taken the free kick. So, you can't really. Yes, you can promote about different things, but overall, it was an absolute disaster. I mean, the other thing that you would ask yourself is if the confidence within the camp is brittle at the minute, Mark, right? Why go out? I get that Leeds are in a bad run of form, but Leeds are on their home patch, right?
Yeah.
But then if our confidence isn't great at the minute, and given the fact that we've had the run that we've had, it can't be that great.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Surely it would have been better even just to set up as we did on Saturday, where you're saying, right, we're gonna defend to get something out of the game.
Yeah.
We'll have the same sort of structures in place as Saturday, and then we'll come away with at least a point, or you might nick a win, but to go out all out, because it did look like we were trying to play we're back to trying to play a counter expansive football, and you're sort of sat there going, it still leads away, and given the run that we've been on, there does need to be a degree of caution.
Thing is as well, Mark, there's a couple of things for me. A, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which we all know is a phrase that gets used a lot, but couldn't be more apt for that game. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You shouldn't have changed your team. You had no reason to. And it's Leeds away. We haven't played this season. So, of course, why would you change it? Why would you change it? We haven't played them away. Why take the risk of changing the formation?
Well, I'll give you one good reason for changing it, Mish, right? Nathan Redmond, 13 misplaced passes to the opposition during the game, right?
Yep.
Danny Ings, who came on, that really shocked me. Bearing in mind, he was only on for half of the second half.
Yep.
11 passes to the opposition.
Not surprised.
11 passes to the opposition.
And that's the point. That for me is the point. Ralph Hasenhüttl, everybody, is not the problem. Ralph is not the problem. Trust me. Ralph is not the problem. I defy any manager to come in and do any better than he's doing at the moment.
Look, the thing that I would say about any manager, right, is a manager can only tell the players, right, what he imparts to them during the week, or even in this case, what he imparts to them at half time.
Prime example,
let's
Mark.
remember, it was 0-0 at half time.
Well, look, prime example. Neil Lennon at Celtic. He's gone 18 games now without winning for Celtic. He's gone X number of games at Celtic. They're 18 points behind Rangers. He's now resigned. Has he become a bad manager overnight just because Celtic haven't managed to win? Has he become a bad manager overnight?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, a lot of things, but I'm not going to get into that.
No, I'm just saying. The point is, has Ralph become a bad manager overnight? No.
No. Ralph doesn't become a bad manager overnight. But it's like what I'm trying to say to you, and you know where he does have to take some of the blame for me. Would be, what's the point in bringing on or starting your best 11 as I see it? Once you've gone 1-0 down and you're changing the game, why not put your best 11 out on the pitch at the start of the game and see how you go from there?
I always agree with Dave Merrington on this one, and the fact that Dave Merrington always says, if you've got your strongest side available, you play it. It doesn't matter what competition it is. Don't matter if it's the FA Cup, the league, whatever. If you've got your strongest 11, you play your strongest 11.
But then maybe Ralph thinks that was his strongest 11 he put out against Leeds.
Well, great respect to Ralph.
This is what worries me. This is what kind of worries me. Because I sit there and I think to myself, yeah, okay, Nathan Redmond did the pass on Saturday. They got us the goal. They got us the draw, you know, and you know, picked us up, lifted us up, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you know, I've got to say that he was totally ineffectual on Tuesday night. And Ralph does baffle me. I get that he likes him when he's pressing the ball, but there wasn't even any press going on against
him. The thing is, though, Mark, you do have to question Ralph in the fact that Mr. Giuseppe, man of match performance against Chelsea, doesn't even pick him. Just leaves him on the bench. How's that do the confidence of the player any good? Can't be good for your confidence, can it? You put in a man of the match performance, and then the next game you're on the bench. It's not good for your confidence, is it?
But then I suppose he would also argue, Mark, that while, you know, Gineppo, Millamino, and, you know, Ings all came on in the second half, you know, when Ings and Millamino were on the pitch, they conceded 2. Right? And when Gineppo was on the pitch, they conceded the 3rd goal. So, you know, you could use that argument against us, really. But the thing is, my thing is fair enough. You're going to play an expansive game, and he decided that he was playing an attacking game, or he was at least going to try and go for it, right? But if you're going to do that, put your best attacking players on the pitch.
Absolutely right.
You know?
Yep, definitely. Yeah, and I think that that pretty much wraps up the coverage of the Leeds versus Saints game.
There's just one other thing I want to say as well, right? You know, Ryan Bertram, if you're going to keep putting performances in like that, leave the club in the summer.
You know, I agree.
You know, or come out and make a statement that you've decided that you're not going to commit, because that was for a person of his experience, and I'm just saying this. That performance down his side, down the left side, by him personally, was truly awful last
and I've
night.
got to say, in backing that up as well, Mark, it makes the decision to release Matt Targett when they did look like a very poor one.
But we didn't release him. We sold him because
to sell him when they sold him, release him, sell him, whatever you want to call it.
We can't go backwards on stuff.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, Mark, it makes it look like a bad decision at the time because of the way Ryan's been and not having that cover there.
Yes, I understand that.
That's where I'm coming from.
But like I say, and I do agree with you to a point, you know, I do. But I just sort of sit there and I think sometimes you just got to let go.
Yeah. Look, I'm not one for living in the past, as you know, because I'm always saying to you, I wish people would stop harping back saying, oh, bring this player back, bring this player back, bring that player back. No, they've left the club. They've left for a reason. We don't want them back. And most of the time, they've been sold because the manager doesn't think they're good enough. But anyway, so that brings us to the end of the Leeds versus Saints coverage. And we're going to take a break. Coming up in the second half of the show, Saints Club news, other football news, and the Two Saints preview of Everton versus Saints. So we'll be back in a bit.
Fiesta 95 FM, the Two Saints Show. It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints Show.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Saints Club news. Saints B secure vital Premier League 2 win. So, Saints B team secure vital Premier League 2 win. Got a bit tongue-tied there. Under 18s report, Leicester 1, Saints 0. March fixture changes. Brighton fixture change. UEFA Women's Euro 2022, 500 days to go. Southampton open Alex McCarthy contract talks. I can hear everyone groaning already, Mark. Woodgate pleased to see frontman Long get off the mark for the Cherries. And that takes you up to your next break. So, starting with Premier League 2, Mark. Saints B secure a vital win. Yeah, it certainly was vital because they haven't won many, have they? And it was a 1-0 win over Derby County. Kazim Alegbe's solitary goal ensured they got all 3 points at the Snow Stadium on Sunday. And he had a host of chances in that game as well. But he took one at least.
As I say, unfortunately, the wins for, the B team and the under 18s don't come along that often, so let's celebrate them while we can. Where's that Pogues music when you need it? But anyway, no, in all seriousness, Mark, obviously, man, I don't like having to come on here every week and when the under 18s or the B team are in action.
Yeah,
and I'm sat there going, another barren week where we're not winning games football. Yep. So let's rejoice in the fact that, yes, we beat Derby County. Derby County is well renowned for, in the B games, you can play overage players. But because for them, with them playing in the championship and being at the highest standard you can be for B teams or under 23 teams, right? What they will do is they will use the rule that you can have 3 overage players, and they do it to quite good effect. So for the B team to come away with a 1-0 result, from AFC Tottenham's ground, which obviously is the Snow Stadium.
Yeah,
I mean it's a good result, really.
Against Derby County as well, so. Definitely a good result.
Yeah, and hopefully it can sort of lift the season a bit and they can move forward.
Yeah, unfortunately, can't say the same for the under-18s. You unfortunately succumbed to a 1-0 loss to Leicester City in the under-18s Premier League. So, Ollie Ewing's solitary strike on 22 minutes was enough to seal all 3 points for the hosts, despite Saints creating several chances to seal a point late on. Brisk conditions at Leicester's all-new training facility certainly didn't impact the competitiveness of the game. But yeah, unfortunately, under 18s go down to a 1-0 defeat, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying this every week, but the under 18s thing is always so hard to gauge. We're in the safe section. And to be honest with you, mate, we always finish sort of 9th, 10th, anywhere between 8th, 9th and 10th in that section. And we always have. We don't ever seem to make that big of an impact. Even when we had some of the so-called bigger stars coming through, at Staplewood or whatever. So, it's always sort of been, and I get at that age that it is the development thing. I have a different approach to when it's the B team. My approach to it's completely different because it is competitive then. Yep. And it is competitive for the reasons that you're providing players for the first team squad. Yep. But look, it is what it is. Let's rejoice in a week where the B team have actually won a game.
Yeah.
And got 3 points on the board.
Guess what, first team? They've done something you couldn't. They got a win. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there is an irony there, to be fair, Mark.
So, as Mark said, where's the Pogues with Fiesta when you need them? Anyway, so moving on to details of March fixture changes. Hopefully, it's be good news for Saints, Mark. Hopefully, the fact they've changed the fixture will give us a bit of good luck. But anyway, The Premier League have confirmed, today released updated fixture schedule following a number of broadcast selections for the month of March. Saints Premier League meeting with Sheffield United will be played on the date originally specified, Saturday the 6th of March, 3 p.m, but is now set to be screened live by Sky Sports. Saints' trip to the Etihad Stadium, which was due to take place in late April, has received a new date following Man City's progression in the EFL Cup. That fixture has moved to Wednesday the 10th of March, 6 p.m, and will again be shown live on Sky Sports. The remainder of March's fixture schedule will be confirmed in due course. Well, can I try and put a few of them after the 17th of May? Because that would be quite helpful.
Well, I've look, at the end of the day, I'm going to come back and speak on that in a minute. Yep. But yeah, look, it is what it is. And, hopefully it's some good news for some people who may have missed the games.
That's right. And they've also moved the Brighton and Hove Albion game from next month. That's got a new date as well. And that's now going to be broadcast by the BBC and take place a day later than originally scheduled on Sunday, the 14th of March at 12 noon.
Well, it's good news for me and you because rather than doing a watch along with Mike, we might be sat at home watching it.
That's right.
I dare say we'll do the watch along with Mike because we don't want to spoil a winning run in the Cup. And
obviously, that's one of two fixtures taking place that week. So, nice, easy week for Saints. They got Brighton and then Man City. So, nice, easy week. No sweat there.
So, Mark, I just wanted to say, okay, I've just had a look at the two leagues, okay?
Yep.
The under-18s league, right? They're in a league of 13 teams, and they're bottom.
Wow.
They've secured 5 points. This is the under-18s. They've secured 5 points all season.
Wow. Yeah, so that is the Great Saints Academy, everybody.
From 12. So all I'll say to you is 5 points, and then in 12th spot you have Leicester City under 18s with 8 points. And then in 11th spot you've got West Ham United in 11. They've got 11 points.
Well,
but we've only mustered 5 points from 12 games. Also.
Well, on the plus side, Mark, I'm very glad that our Director of Football Operations was the best candidate available in Europe and that the fruit of those labours is being borne out in the under-18s and the B team.
But I have to say there's more optimistic news on the B team, right? Because just let me give you these little stats, okay? It gives you some sort of hope, right? But the bottom four read as Arsenal, 19 points from 16. Leicester City, 17 games played, 16 points, right? Southampton, 14 games played, 15 points. So they're only a point behind them, and they're only 4 points behind Arsenal, right? 2 games in hand over Arsenal and 3 games in hand over Leicester City. So, to be fair to the B team, they do have an opportunity of actually staying up this season.
Good. Excellent.
Whereas at the suspension of last season, they would have been relegated.
Yep.
So thankfully, the season wasn't completed last season.
I see. And obviously, we've covered the fixture changes for March for you. We've covered the Brighton fixture changes as well. So obviously, you know what's happening, guys. So we move on to the UEFA Women's Euro 2022. 500 days to go, and Southampton is actually due to be a host city. So UEFA today unveiled brand new identity for the UEFA Women's Euro 2022, marking 500 days till the start of the tournament, for which Southampton is a host city. The 2022 edition in England promises to be the biggest women's football event in UEFA history, deserving of the fresh, open and contemporary look that reflects the strength, diversity and ever-growing popularity of the game. Originally scheduled for 2021, the tournament was like UEFA Euro for 2020, postponed by a year, guarantees increased exposure for women's football in a summer without other major football events. So there's been a new logo, extensive coverage of all matches at the Euro 2022 will feature on free-to-air TV, radio and online as 16 nations compete to be crowned European champions.
Fantastic. Now, you know why I'm getting excited about this, don't you?
Yeah, you might actually get to see some women's football at St Mary's.
Because in next month, in April, Northern Ireland have reached the playoffs.
Correct.
And if we win the playoffs, right, and we end up in England's group, right, because England's matches are based in the south of England.
They are.
Right? So, and it wouldn't surprise me if Northern Ireland, because they're so lowly ranked, they'll end up being the cannon fodder of the group.
Yep.
But if they do manage to be drawn in England's group, it means that I will be able to watch all their matches because 2 of them will be in Southampton,
exactly,
and 1 will be in Brighton.
Fantastic.
And I know a friend that will take me to Brighton to watch that game as well.
Oh, I think that's nailed on. I don't think you'll have to worry about transport.
And I will be happy as Larry, mate.
Yep.
Because I am just so proud of what they've done.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
As I say, I'm really looking forward to the Euros. It'd be an interesting one because obviously it's a great chance for England to win some silverware.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah,
from some great players in Jill Scott and Alan White and young Rachel Daly.
Yep.
She's some winger.
I was going to say they've got a new up and coming player coming through as well. They keep an eye on one of the youngsters. Could be the next good striker for England. But yeah, and from a Northern Ireland point of view, Mark, obviously, fantastic. I'm glad you're buoyed about that. And obviously, Northern Irish sports at the forefront recently because obviously Jordan Brown's just won the Welsh Open in the snooker. So haven't been a bad week or so for Northern Ireland, has it? Apart from the football.
You're on the wrong pod.
Yeah, I know. This is the Two-Saints show, not the snooker. But anyway.
Yeah, so thanks for that, Mark.
Yeah. But obviously being a proud Northern Irishman, Mark, I'm sure you were quite happy about that. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. And we wish the women's team all the best, obviously. And England, please don't score 6 against him again. It was a little bit harsh on Mark.
I'm joking. The thing is, mate, whatever happens, if they qualify, I will enjoy it because I know that we lose every game, but I'll enjoy it.
So, and that moves us on to the next article, which is probably one that Mark, myself, and a lot of Saints fans probably won't enjoy. And that's the news that Southampton have opened talks with Alex McCarthy over a new deal. Oh, dear. The goalkeeper's contract runs out at the end. It runs out in 2022. So, they've opened talks with him over a new contract. Well, can't wait to see how much his wages are going to be.
I've got to be honest, mate. Given, okay, I understand that it would cost money to bring a goalkeeper in.
Yep.
Right? And that is a consideration. And the only thing I would say about this contract is it probably does spell the end of Fraser's stay on the South Coast for me because I can't see them, if they've opened up contract talks already with Alex for next summer, because effectively his deal runs out summer of 2022. It tells me that I don't think they've got any intention of extending Fraser's contract. But then it'd be interesting to see who, if anybody, to bring in for competition. Will they recall Angus Gunn? I've seen that Angus Gunn up until this evening and kept 3 clean sheets in a row for Stoke.
Yep.
But I think they lost 2-0 to Barnsley tonight. So, it'd be interesting to see basically, do they consider Angus Gunn to have a future as, a number 2 back up there?
Yep.
Alex, I would assume that's the case. And obviously then Fraser's going to be let go. But, it is a baffler, Mark, when you sit there and you think Alex has not been in good form.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
What's the point in having another experienced keeper there if that experienced keeper isn't pressing him for the start?
Well, the thing is,
through a bad patch.
Greatest respect to Fraser. But this is shades of the situation with Fraser where he wasn't in the team and he got put on another contract, and it was a big one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's nothing against Fraser, obviously.
That in itself is ridiculous, and you think the club would learn lessons from that.
Exactly.
I'm just hoping that, if they agree terms with Alex, it's more or less on the same sort of terms he's on at the minute. Because
Well, I hope so, because if they're struggling to give Danny Ings the sort of wages they want to give him and persuade him to sign, I can't see how they can put McCarthy on more money. But there you go. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I think we'll move on to the Blue Rinse Brigade down the road, down in Bournemouth, as we call them. I'm only joking. Jonathan Woodgate, pleased to see frontman Shane Long get off the mark for the Cherries. Yep, he joined the retirement home. I mean, he's joined Bournemouth and got off the mark straight away, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, the Long family have opened up an ice cream parlour down there. But anyway, no, getting on the shit. The thing is, Mark, just following on from that. I mean, as we're recording this, I've got to tell you that he actually scored again tonight.
Well done, Shane.
So,
yeah, I do know that actually because a mutual female friend of ours messaged me and went, "My man scored again." So okay.
At the time of him scoring, right, it was pointed out that he hadn't scored a goal for X amount of how long, right, and yet he has now scored 2 goals in 20 minutes.
Crazy, isn't it?
Right, that was at the time when he scored. He'd scored 2 goals in 20 minutes. But I have to tell you, both of them were top, especially the one on Saturday. It was, I mean, he was virtually on the goal line.
Yeah, it's a tap into an empty net, pretty much.
Yeah.
Even I would have struggled to miss that, to be fair, Mark.
And I don't know what tonight's effort was like, but but fair play to him. I mean, I've got a lot of time for Shane because the thing is he is the model professional. He's not one of those players that will rock the boat. He does get on with it. I mean, all right, he expresses that he's disappointed that he doesn't start games, but what footballer doesn't express that? He's not one of these ones that will throw his baby out with the bathwater, so to speak.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right, and that brings us to the end of that section. So we're going to take a break. And we'll be back very shortly.
Join Mark C and Mark H for the Two Saints Show. Follow Southampton with pre-match previews and updates from St Mary's live on Fiesta 95 FM every Thursday with the two Marks. Be there or be rectangular.
Right, welcome back, everybody. So, other football news. 10,000 fans could return to stadiums by May. Congolo party not acceptable, Parker. Willian receives racial abuse on social media. Zaha to stop taking the knee before games. Bristol City appoint Pearson as manager. Bournemouth target Henry as new manager. Barton named new Bristol Rovers boss. Lewis Dreyfus completes Sunderland takeover. Truman and Sellers named Bradford bosses. Lennon resigns as Celtic manager. Mcqueen diagnosed with dementia. I headed the ball and my career ended aged 19. Cannaville is off the critical list, and coffee waste used to make forest green kit. So, Mark, start with the very first story, which is 10,000 fans could return to stadiums by May, and we're led to believe if Saints get to Wembley, we might actually be able to go. Well, you might be able to go anyway.
I might be able to if I've had a vaccine by that stage.
There is that.
And it's been a 2-week period for gestation. But, I did read that, and obviously hope does spring eternal if that's the case. I've got to say, though, Mark, I'm not in favour of fans returning for league games.
No, me either.
Let me explain why.
Yep.
Right? The thing is if it means that, you're only going to be able to go into one league home game, right?
Yep.
And the chances are that would be the last league game of the season.
Yep.
Right? I just think it's better if they just play the rest of the season without crowds.
Yeah.
The FA Cup final's different because that's a one-off match.
True.
I just think in relation to the league, it gives unfair advantage if you're a home side.
Yeah. You're
playing the last set of fixtures.
Certainly does.
You know what I mean? So I would much rather just say, I know that's probably unpopular view, but I just tend to think to myself, there's been such a long time without fans in the stadium.
No, it's true.
And I just think to make it equal for everybody, because you don't know what's going to be at stake at the end of the season.
No, I get that. Well, the thing is as well, let's just hope also it's not a full storm, because it could be a full storm. We've had so many of these throughout this lockdown period and throughout the whole pandemic. It could be one of those it could be another full storm. It might not happen yet. We don't know what's going to happen between now and May. Anything's possible. And if the pandemic's taught us anything, it's exactly that, isn't it? That anything can happen. So let's hope it does, but let's hope it's not another full storm, because there's always.
I mean, let's be honest. We're only talking about the article as we see it.
Yep.
But obviously, we all realise that things can change very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything else, but I do think, obviously, with the vaccine being out there now,
makes a difference.
All the reports that are coming back all sound pretty good.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Talking of reports that sound good, this doesn't sound good. This sounds very poor, actually. So Fulham boss Scott Parker says a surprise birthday party thrown for defender Terence Kongolo was not acceptable. Yeah, I'm getting a bit brassed off with footballers constantly breaching rules and just saying it's not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal to the rest of us.
I've got to be honest, Mark, right? I'm on Terence's side with this one, right? Because if you actually read the article, okay, so Terence Kalunga was coming back from the league game.
Yep.
Fulham were playing up north. Actually, I think it was the Everton game, which they actually won. Yep. And he was returning back to his apartment at about, they reckon he was returning back at about 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yep.
Right? And they have the CCTV where he's got his mask on and he's entered the apartment, and then all of a sudden it's like, surprise.
Yeah.
To me, that was nothing to do with him. That was factors beyond his control. But obviously the people around him shouldn't have been doing it,
Yep.
I mean, he was unaware because obviously it was a surprise birthday party.
Yeah, I get that.
But the thing is the people around them are aware of his responsibilities as a footballer,
absolutely right,
and they shouldn't be doing it.
But the thing is, I mean, the whole situation is people breaking rules, and that is just getting on my nerves, to be fair. I'm not blaming the players directly necessarily, but people are breaching rules, and it is getting out of hand again.
I get that, but in this instant, it wasn't the footballer's fault. We're talking about either a partner or family, but even they should be aware of his direct responsibilities.
So from that point of view, I agree with Scott Parker. It is not acceptable, but I also agree with you. It wasn't his fault.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault.
Moving on, Willian has received racial abuse on social media, and the other side to the coin of that is the fact Wilfred Zaha has said he's refusing to take the knee before games. Now,
yeah, I'm glad that you've decided to do these two. I meant to say to you. I mean, again, we're going to be going over old ground, but until social media takes some responsibility for what's happening, right? And you have to log in and out and give details when you're going to make comments or pass messages, direct messages, or whatever it would be to people. Until the social media companies bring that sort of thing in, and until the courts start getting tough on sentencing about this sort of thing, because it's not on. And unless you take a hard line, this is just going to continue.
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
The thing is Mark, though, and I listened. I think it might have been Clinton Morrison the other day, and he made a good point. It's been driven out of the stadiums, right? And now we've just got faceless people who think it's okay to abuse or whatever online, and this won't be sorted until the media and the courts take action and actually make it more of a criminal offence and stuff like that.
I agree 100%. Yeah, and Wilfred Zaha obviously saying he's going to stop taking the knee before games. Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I think that whole BLM situation's kind of run its course a little bit.
Yeah, but the thing is the thing is people keep talking about that, but it's not just about that, is it? It's about equality. And the thing is I've got to say I disagree with Wilfred, really, because until someone comes up with a better idea of how to express that these things are not acceptable in normal society, until somebody comes up with a better idea than taking the knee, then to me, the footballers and other sportsmen, we've seen it. It's not just football.
No, it's not.
We've seen it in other sports.
Yep.
People taking the knee, and I think until someone comes up with a better idea, right? And this is what we're talking about, which is effective. I mean, every time I see them take the knee, I just think it sends a powerful message
I agree with
to
that.
people that we won't tolerate. We won't. I turn around and think to myself, that's good, because we won't then tolerate a society that is biased one way or the other.
That's
right.
Fair comment.
It's all about equality for everybody.
Yeah, fair comment.
So
we'll move on to the next story. Bristol City appoint the man who's rapidly becoming the Sam Allardyce of lower division teams. Nigel Pearson has been appointed at Bristol City, Mark. The man's never out of a job.
I mean,
is he becoming the Sam Allardyce of the lower leagues?
I mean, the thing is the last manager there was Ricky Walden, right?
Yep.
And to be honest, he had a hell of an impact to start off with. I think at one stage Bristol City were top of the league after about 5 or 6 games.
Yep.
But then they've sort of took a nosedive just before Christmas, and obviously, they've decided to bring Nigel Pearson in to stop the rot. I actually believe that the one their game, he hasn't actually taken charge yet, but he was watching the game last night, and the one last night. So obviously, hopefully there'll be an upturn in fortune for them. But he's only there, strangely enough, till the end of the season. So
that was hence the Sam Allardyce reference.
But if he impresses, he'll get given a longer contract.
Yeah, that was where the tongue-in-cheek Sam Allardyce reference came from.
Yeah,
yeah.
But it's as I say, it's an interesting move for them, because obviously, the last time Nigel was in the Championship, to be fair to him, he got Leicester promoted to the Premier League. So. Lightning might strike twice, So
we move on to Bournemouth. Bournemouth target Thierry Henry. Bournemouth target Thierry Henry as manager. Did they really? Because I'm led to believe the fans were pretty upset at the fact they appointed Jonathan Woodgate, who they'd employed 3 weeks earlier. Right.
Well, here the thing that baffles me, Mark, is, right, Jonathan Woodgate has obviously been given the Bournemouth job to the end of the season, right?
Yep.
Now, if it's Bournemouth's intention that they're looking to employ Thierry Henry, during the summer.
Yep.
Okay. But the thing is you look at his record, and his win percentage as a manager is absolute pants.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, and you sit there, and I do think to myself, is this just a PR stunt, right? To get greater exposure for Bournemouth Football Club?
Yep.
Or are they actually seriously considering, appointing him as a manager? But on the flip side of that, the other thing I want to say is, right, Bournemouth appointing Jonathan Woodgate, to me, that just means that they're not going to get promoted this season, and they're not going to end up in the playoffs neither.
Because question, what if they set Jason Tindall there?
If you look at his record at Middlesbrough, right?
Yep.
When he was appointed manager at Middlesbrough, I mean, they were relegated under Jonathan.
Let me say this, Mark. They've had Middlesbrough fans putting stuff out on Twitter to Bournemouth fans saying, "We feel your pain." After the appointment was made, okay.
No, the reason why the Borough fans are doing that is because last season when Jonathan Woodgate was the manager.
Yep.
You know, if it hadn't have been for them appointing Neil Warnock when they did, they would have been relegated out of the Championship.
100%. Yep.
You know,
100%. 100%.
And for Bournemouth, I mean, the thing is some people are just born opportunists. I mean, he gets so Jason Tidsdale's the manager, right? Jonathan Woodgate got employed by Bournemouth on the Monday, right? Jason Tidsdale got it sacked was got rid of, let's put it like that, right? On the Wednesday or the Thursday. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're putting Jonathan in as interim manager. And then they go, oh, he's won. I think he won 4, lost 1, and drew 1. Right? And he goes, right, we're putting him in as manager. Right? And I'm sat there thinking, look at his. All right, he's there as an interim manager, and he's had a bit of an upturn. But look at his performance as middle manager.
They bring in Jason Tyndall. Okay, so they bring in Jason Tyndall. They bring in Jonathan Woodgate. A couple of days after Jonathan Woodgate comes in, they sack Jason Tyndall, saying he's not meeting the vision the club have, moving it forward, blah, blah, blah. Okay, moving it forward. Okay, so you're then saying you're going through a process of due diligence. You've got a manager shortlist. Thierry Henry's on there. So you're doing a thorough search. Within a day, or not even a day, you announce that Jonathan Woodgate's taken over on a permanent basis. And you're sat there going, well, why on earth did they sack Jason Tyndall then?
Yeah, well, the thing is, man, like I said, it baffles me. It just seems to be a cheap option.
Yep.
You know, and maybe it is a case of, you know, they're just wanting someone to steady the ship until they make their move for Thierry Henry in the summer.
Absolutely.
But like I said, why would Bournemouth want to employ Thierry Henry? I get that he's a big name, but if you look at his managerial record, it's absolutely, Jonathan Woodgate and him are on a par.
So anyway, moving on, this was an interesting one. We're going to cover the rest of the lower league stories, obviously. So Joe Barton named as new Bristol Rovers boss. Kirill Lewis-Dreyfus becomes Sunderland chairman at the age of 23 after buying a controlling interest in the club. Truman and Sellers named Bradford bosses. So Bradford City have appointed interim bosses Mark Truman and Connor Sellers as joint managers till the end of the 2021-22 season mark.
Right. So where was
Joey Barton appointed as new Bristol Rovers boss after being sacked by Fleetwood.
Yeah, well, he was going to turn up somewhere, wasn't he?
Yep.
I mean, his record actually at Fleetwood wasn't that bad. And he does seem to have a sort of upturn with teams. But the problem is Joey's personality takes over, if you like. Yeah. You know, and he's never short of expressing himself, is he? So
some things never change.
That can tend to rub people the wrong way. Yeah. Owners as well as opposition managers. Yep. But obviously he's back in football. He's taken over Bristol Rovers.
Yep.
I've got to be honest, if he works miracles there, even just to keep them up. I mean, I think they're fourth from bottom in League One. And I'll suggest to you, Mark, if he keeps them up, he's done a good job. You know, and then I'm sure in the summer he'll be hoping to put a stamp in the squad, and we should see 1 or 2 changes if he's hoping to move.
Absolutely,
Bristol Rovers forward.
And this is definitely changing the sort of old boys' brigade in football. Kirill Lewis-Dreyfus, Sunderland's chairman at the age of 23. Mark, that's quite a move at 23 years old, isn't it? Chairman of Sunderland. Oh, I mean, no pressure then.
We reported this, I think, just sometime in late December we spoke about it, and it looked like he was going to be appointed, but now it's been made official.
Yep.
And he is quite young, but obviously I do think there's a certain amount of family guidance there as well.
Yeah, he's obviously Swiss, and he's son of the former Marseille owner Robert Louis Dreyfus. So he's actually the youngest chairman in English football now.
Yeah. And he seems to be quite level-headed because, again, I know we hear this from a lot of owners, but he does seem to want to get very involved in the local community. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. One of the more interesting things from that article, Mark, was the fact that Stuart Donald has still decided to retain a stake in Sunderland.
Yeah.
I think from what I've heard and read, I think it's around about 10%. But obviously, young Dreyfus has become the majority sort of shareholder. Therefore, he's the chairman. Absolutely. But it'd be interesting to see how Sunderland go. I mean, Lee Johnson's gone in there as the new manager. He took over from Phil Parkinson, and it looks like he's having a bit of an effect because they were in a bit of a slump and now they seem to have found a bit of form again. They're in and around the playoff places again. So, let's see what happens.
Definitely. So moving on to Bradford City, appointing interim bosses Mark Trueman and Connor Sellers as joint managers till the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, this I've got to say, this one was a bit of a strange one for me, right? Because I'd never heard of them before. But then I looked into the takeover when Bradford City were 22nd in League Two, right? Bradford City got rid of Stuart McCall, and they brought the two of them in, relative unknowns. It's a bit like the Crowley brothers, if you remember the Crowley brothers at Lincoln City, and the brilliant job that they did there. Relative unknowns, but they've basically lifted Bradford from 22nd place to 13th place, and they only currently lie 7 points off of the playoffs. And given the nature of League Two this season, it's fairly congested. I've got to say, I mean, for example, Bolton started the season really badly, and they're only now a point off the playoffs. So all it would need is for the lads that have taken over at Bradford to continue to sort of have the same sort of game win ratio, and Bradford will end up in the playoffs this season. So good luck to the two of them. Relative unknowns, but at the end of the day, how do you make a name for yourself, Mark?
Yeah, exactly. Right, and we move on to the next story as well. Scottish football, Neil Lennon has resigned as the manager of Celtic, with Celtic 18 points behind Rangers in the Scottish Premiership.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's not trample on a man's demise. But the thing is, Neil Lennon will always be remembered, whether it's as a player or a manager.
Absolutely.
As a Celtic great for what he's done for the football club.
Absolutely right.
And winning the treble and stuff like that there. But the thing is things sort of conspired against him this season. I don't necessarily think Celtic's recruitment was that great. There was PR disasters as well. I mean, we've seen in recent weeks the chairman stepped down as well. And there was the whole nonsense over Christmas when they went off to Dubai. Which I mean, people have different opinions about it, but to me it was fairly irresponsible, and there was a backlash from that, and obviously Neil had to deal with that. And I just think at the end of the day, he had probably run its course. I mean, look, mate, you can't have a team of that size and stature go to Ross County. Although I was over the moon, mate, because I support any of the Diddy teams, as to say, up in Scotland. That means small teams to the people down here, right? I support any of the Diddy teams when it comes to the two main Glasgow clubs because I can't stand them personally. But the thing is like, the thing is, I get why supporters of the Glasgow Big Two, turn around and say, oh, it's acceptable, they're losing to Ross County. We were winning the treble last season and we're losing to Ross County, So I get it, but, all I would say is It's sad because it's the demise of Neil Lennon. Obviously, mate, the interesting story here is who's going to take over, because the runners and riders that they're being linked with, unbelievable. I mean, Frank Lampard, Eddie Howe, Rafa Benitez, and then you've got the more sort of connected to the club types. Roy Keane's been spoken about. Could you imagine Roy Keane and Steven Gerrard in an Old Firm derby? Opposite sort of in the dugouts. I mean, I don't think you can get anything more fiery than that. But and then they've spoke about people like, Northern Ireland's ex-national manager, Michael O'Neill, who's currently at Stoke.
Yep.
As being a good fit for Celtic. But it'd be interesting to see who they do appoint.
Definitely. So moving on, sad news that Gordon Mcqueen, the former Scotland, Man United and Leeds defender, has been diagnosed with dementia. This is vascular dementia. The 68-year-old whose career began at St Mirren, played 30 times for Scotland, won the English First Division with Leeds and FA Cup at Manchester United. He went on to manage Airdrie and coach at Middlesbrough before working as a television pundit. His family said the former centre-back was formally diagnosed in January. So very sad news, Mark.
It has been. I mean, again, it's someone that you associate when you were growing up. And, I mean, Gordon Mcqueen was one of those players that was renowned for heading the ball as well.
And if I'm not mistaken as well, Mark, part of the Man United 76 Cup final team that we beat.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
Gordon Mcqueen didn't come till later on. I think it was summer of 79 when he joined United. I think it was he was at Dave Sexton when Dave Sexton joined the club. Gordon Mcqueen joined that summer.
Right,
so I think it was 78 or 79.
Yeah, sad news on that one. And also, along with that news on Gordon Mcqueen, Bobby Coppin, the former Peterborough defender, on retiring at 19 after heading the ball, he said he went up for a routine header in a training game last July. Ended up in hospital for 4 days after suffering a seizure, losing his sight and going numb down one side of his body. He hoped it was a freak one-off accident. His comeback in the game, in his comeback game, the same thing happened. The injury has ended his career at just 19, having started to make his breakthrough to the first team. So that's pretty scary, Mark.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when I read it, man, I just thought, how horrific's that? That's happening to him at that age. Yeah. We're talking about people that have had careers, and hopefully, like we've said previously, the PFA now are acting.
Yeah, and Dawn Astor's on board with that as well.
Too little, too late, but at least they're acting, and hopefully everybody get the care that they need. But absolutely horrific for a player of that age.
Well, and it's good to know that Dawn Astor's involved with the dementia program with the FA as well. So that's good, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. No, definitely.
So moving on to some slightly better news, we reported that former Chelsea winger Paul Canaville was critically ill in hospital after emergency surgery. He's actually no longer critically ill in hospital. So that's a little bit of positive news, Mark.
Yeah, no, I just thought I would highlight it, mate. I always like to go in when we're doing the other football news with something that gives us a bit of positivity, definitely. Also something with a bit of quirkiness, which we're going to come on to now.
Absolutely.
But for me personally, it's great news about Paul Cannavale. I mean, he was a person that was very much at the forefront of things.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, great news.
So Forest Green Rovers are to wear prototype shirts made of coffee waste. So they'll be launching a new shirt partly made of coffee waste. Are they going to have a new sponsor? Is it going to be Starbucks or Costa?
When I tell you, this club have got to be the Football League's most innovative club.
Yeah.
Right? They're the first club in the Football League to have a vegan-only menu. Right? And all the stuff is properly sourced. The owner's very, very much involved, at Forest Green. And I just find it really, really fascinating. I can't wait to see what the new shirts and kit are going to look like. I mean, I've got to be honest, I really am curious to see it.
Well, it's interesting because they introduced their first part bamboo kit almost 2 years ago. They serve vegan food to the players, and they're planning a new stadium made entirely out of wood.
Yeah, it's all recyclable. He's all into this recyclable. I think he's vegan even himself, so therefore
they were actually recognised by FIFA in 2017 as the greenest football club in the world.
Yeah, and mate, they've continued to make strides in that direction. Like I said, if you go and you go as part of the sort of select band that get lifted and laid, when you go to the football, it's a completely vegan menu, and everything else. And the thing is Hugh, friend of the show, Hugh has actually gone to Forest Green Rovers home, and he has been in the hospitality, right? And he said of the vegan food, you wouldn't know it.
Yep.
You'd actually sit there and think you were eating meat.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely lovely. But so the thing is Mark, just going back to the kit and stuff like that there, I mean, I can't wait to see what Forest Green have come up with, because a couple of years ago, right, I think it was 2 seasons ago, Coventry City came up with an away kit which was black and white, which was an ode to the two-tone revival of the late 70s and early 80s, which was a fantastic kit. I tried to order it, but to no avail. They didn't have me size. Need to lose a few pounds.
Well, hopefully, with new Hummel shirts coming for Saints fans, we'll get a slightly better fit than the Under Armour.
I mean, I can't wait for next season shirts to come out, mate, to see what Hummel comes up with.
Big fan of that. So that brings us to the end of the other football news section for the show today. So we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, the Two Saints preview of Everton versus Saints. So it'll be last time out, away and at home.
It's the Two Marks, C&H, on the Two Saints Show, Fiesta 95 FM.
Right, welcome back, everybody. So the Two Saints preview of Everton versus Saints, and last time out, away and at home. So Danny Ings scored in a 1-1 draw. Richarlison scored after 44 minutes. Danny Ings had already scored for Saints, gave them a lead on 31 minutes. The assist was from Stuart Armstrong for Saints and Digne for Everton. And in the following fixture, which was at St Mary's, Sunday, 25th of October, it was Southampton 2, Everton 0. Ward-Prowse 27 minutes, Adams in the 35th minute, and Digne sent off for Everton in the 72nd minute. And we actually ran out 2-0 winners in that one, Mark. So a 1-0 draw and a 2-0 win.
Yeah, the most significant thing about those two was the Danny Ings goal. That was the one where I said to you about he wasn't even looking at his feet.
Brilliant goal,
right? And he was able to know where exactly the ball was, even though he wasn't looking at his feet.
Yep.
And I said to you at the time that even though it probably wasn't the greatest finish of the season, it was one of my goals of the season, just because he already knew where the ball was.
Oh, it was fantastic.
And then obviously the home game's the one from this season, and the reason why that was relevant at the time was Everton were actually top of the league when we beat them 2-0. And it was in the happier times when we were a much more fluid attacking team with no injuries.
Yeah, well, there is that. Yeah. So I've got to be honest, Mark. I've got a funny feeling this is going to be. Do you know what? I'm going to say 1-0.
I was going to go 1-0.
Oh,
but because you have gone 1-0, and I know I can't take it off you, I'm going to go 0-0. I'm going to go with 0-0.
Fair enough. We think there will be any VAR controversy. Who do you think the key man will be for Saints, and who do you think the key man will be for Everton?
Right. So the key man for us, I think James Ward-Prowse has to get back to playing at his best.
Yep.
For me, he's gone missing. Not necessarily in the Chelsea game, but you know yourself, the last few games, probably he hasn't been of his normal standard.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the thing is we come dependent on him being at his normal standard every week. So when he's not at his normal standard, you tend to take notice. So I think he's going to be key. I think you've got to start Danny Ings and Shea Adams up front, surely, to give you any sort of goal threat. Unless he's looking to do a containment job. But we're just going to have to wait and see. But James Ward-Prowse for me, in terms of he needs to step back up to the level he was at. I think that's dropped off a bit. And for Everton, I'm going to say James Rodriguez only because, Mark, right? He's only been there a season, and he's already being linked back to some of the top clubs in Europe because of the sea. I mean. It's a strange one because I think his season's tailed off a bit, but obviously the impact that he had initially at Everton, right? Because he was a driving force there, right? And obviously he came to Everton because of Ancelotti, because Ancelotti obviously managed it way everywhere else, and he's well respected, but. They're already talking about him moving next season from Everton. And he joined Everton on a free.
Yep.
I'd love to know what wages they're paying him, by the way.
And the other thing is, I'm sort of hoping Ralph switches back to what he did at Chelsea. Do you think you should switch back to what he did at Chelsea, go with that team? Or would you keep faith with the players that capitulated against Leeds?
Yeah, I think I would take a more cautious approach, definitely, Mark. The thing is Everton isn't exactly the happiest of the hunting grounds for us, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it is a case of playing within ourselves, maybe setting up a defensive shape, maybe doing what we did against Chelsea. I just think if we go gung-ho at it, we'll probably leave ourselves way too open. And the problem is Everton have got players that will give you headaches. I mean, Calvert-Lewin's been a revelation in terms of scoring goals this season.
Yep.
Richarlison's always a handful because he'll dive on. I mean, I keep saying about him that he'd be better on a springboard than on a football pitch, because of the amount of diving that he does. And then obviously you've got the mercurial, talents of Sigurdsson, who's always dangerous from set pieces. So I would tend to be slightly more reserved in the way we approach things. I wouldn't say ultra defensive, but keep a good shape, and be compact in the same way that we were against Chelsea. Right. Maybe not as defensive, but we need to be. We need to be slightly more circumspect than going in being gung-ho. If we do what we tried to do against Leeds, we'll get our arses smacked.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's not forget, last time we actually beat Everton, their unbeaten record was actually ended by us. And they were the league leaders at the time. Can't see it quite going the same way, but let's remember that. We actually went on quite a run after that. So, or a bit of a run after that.
We did.
So let's hope that's the catalyst this time, man. Mark. It was Arsenal last season, I think, wasn't it? And the season before. So let's hope Everton are the catalyst this season. I thought Chelsea were going to be a catalyst, but yeah, let's hope so. Hit the reset button, a little bit more training, and hopefully get a result against Everton. Yeah, and I think that, unless Mark's got anything else to add, I think that wraps up the show quite nicely today. So goodbye from myself.
And it's goodbye from me. Look, everybody, just take care of one another and, stay safe, keep well.
Yep, if you get offered the vaccine, take it. And if you haven't heard anything and you're not sure, contact surgery and they should be able to help you with a bit of luck. So anyway, just to remind you, the ways to access the podcast version of the show, which is coming up later in the week, will be, or in the next few days, will be the email address, which is the Two Saints Podcast Show at outlook.com. And we've got a list of platforms that's available on, which come up now. Just to remind you all, you can contact us via our email address, the Two Saints Podcast Show at outlook.com, for questions or items you'd like to hear in future shows. You can listen to the radio show on Fiesta 95 FM in Southampton and via onlineradiobox.com. Also, the Two Saints Podcast Show is now available via Spotify, Overcast, Acast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or via our Facebook page, The Two Saints Show, and our YouTube channel, The Two Saints Podcast Show. Please join us again next week when the Two Saints go marching in again. Enjoy our exit tune.